on today. Hope you all are having a lovely day. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes, allow some people to get on. I wanted to come on and finish this book today. Because next we'll be getting into some more common law, going into some deeper common law applied literature. It's lots of information, lots of things to learn. So we got to keep this moving because time is of the essence and there's a lot of people to help. So with that being said, let me share this out. Medias. Give me a few moments. Get some moderators and people on here that can help me out. Hopefully today I'll be able to see my chat, because I know the other day I wasn't able to. Oh, there it goes. All right. Sorry about that, you guys. So let's check.
Gas mo naman.
Okay.
Gas mo naman.
I'm live. No, it's right in that bag. Sorry about the disruption, you all. I didn't know what happened. Phone started doing some crazy stuff. And let me put this on Do Not Disturb. All right. So I wanted to just come back and read the rest of this book that we stopped on the other day. The Common Law Handbook. So we went through pretty much half of the first book. We learned about the sheriff's duties of certain people in the municipalities. So today we're going to pick up on page 32, talking about first principle. Okay. So it says, Liberty is mastered in three powers: light, God, and justice, synonymous with virtue, judicial process. 3, rule of destiny, political process. Remove anyone and you lose liberty. America has lost its way, and only a virtuous people can guide her back. And so, to the end, the people, by the mercy of God, have rediscovered the common natural law, grand jury, and with his blessings, shall return America to her roots again. Virtue. Virtue maxims of law. Avow that justice and virtue are synonymous. Before a man can complete justice, he must first possess virtue, with which the Bible declares flows from the Lord alone. Luke 6:19, and defines virtue as whatever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, and of good report. Philippians 4:8. The Lord further expounds, saying the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without partiality and without hypocrisy. James 3:17. And that that follows after it establishes righteousness and honor. Proverbs 21:21. Thomas Jefferson understood that when he said, God, who gave us life, gave us liberty, and can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are of the gift of God, that they are not to be violated but with his wrath. Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. George Washington understood this when he said, the favorable smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the internal or the eternal rules of order and right which heaven itself has ordained. Benjamin Franklin understood this when he said, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. Okay, moving on, it says John Adams understood this when he said, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Patrick Henry this understood this when he said, I cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians, not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, people of other faiths have been afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here. James Madison understood this when he said, we have staked the whole future of American civilization not upon the power of government, far from it. We have staked the future of all of our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to control ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the 10 Commandments of God. Noah Webster understood this when he said, no truth is more evident to my mind than that the Christian religion must be the basis of any government intended to secure the rights and privileges of a free people. Father of American scholarship and education. The name game, people or citizen. 14th Amendment, Article 1, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor the privileges or immunities of nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person without its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Good afternoon, you all. How are you all? Thank you all for stopping by. And again, for whatever reason, I can't see the comments. Not sure what that's all about. I don't know. So anyways, moving on, it says nation. In American constitutional law, the word state is applied to several members of the American Union, while the word nation is applied to the whole body of the people embraced within the jurisdiction of the federal government. Cooley, Constitution, Limb 1, Texas versus White. Privilege. Black's Law, 4th edition, 1891, is merely an accessory of the debt which it secures, and falls with the extinguishment of the debt. Persons, Black's Law 4th edition, 1891. Persons are divided by law into natural and artificial, corporations and bodies politic, quasi-municipal corporations, bodies politic, and corporate, created for the sole purpose of performing one or more municipal functions. So, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. People are supreme, not the state. Waring versus Mayor of Savannah. The state cannot diminish the rights of the people. Hurtado versus California. At the Revolution, the sovereignty devolved on the people, and they are truly the sovereigns of the country, but they are sovereigns without subjects, with none to govern with themselves. Chisholm versus Georgia. The people of this state, as the successors of its former sovereign, are entitled to all the rights which formerly belonged to the king by his prerogative. Lansing versus Smith. Ordain to enact a constitution or law. State versus Dallas City. King is the sovereign ruler, is the sovereign or ruler, holds the highest executive power, aka the people. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to law, for it is the author and source of law. But in our system, while sovereign powers are delegated to the agencies of government, sovereignty itself remains with the people, by and for whom all government exists and acts, and the law is the definition and limitation of power. Yick Woo versus Hopkins. No God, no liberty. No God, no liberty. If the Son therefore, if the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. Jesus at John 8 and 36. If a nation expects to be both ignorant and free, it expects whatever was and never will be. Thomas Jefferson. The favorable smile of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right which heaven itself has ordained. George Washington. God has gave us life, gave us liberty, and can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are of the gift of God, that they are not to be violated but with his wrath? Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just and his justice cannot sleep forever. Thomas Jefferson. The fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage of this army. Our cruel and unrelenting enemy leaves us only the choice of brave resistance or the most abject submission. We have therefore to resolve to conquer or to die. George Washington. I am sure that never was a people who had more reason to acknowledge a divine interposition into their affairs than those of the United States, and I should be pained to believe that they have forgotten that agency, which was so often manifest during our Revolution, or that they failed to consider the omnipotence of that God, or omnipotence of that God who is alone able to protect them. George Washington. Okay. Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, They have more need of masters. Benjamin Franklin. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government and any other of any other. John Adams. Statesmen, my dear sir, may plan and speculate for liberty, but it is religion and morality alone which can establish the principles upon which freedom can securely stand. The only foundation of a free constitution is pure virtue, and if this cannot be inspired into our people in a greater measure than they have it now, they may change the rulers and the forms of government, but they will not obtain a lasting liberty. They will only exchange tyrants and tyrannies. James Adams. The safety and prosperity of nations ultimately and essentially depend on the protection and blessing of Almighty God, and the national acknowledgement of His truth is not only an indispensable duty which the people owe to Him, but a duty whose natural influence is favorable to the promotion of that whose morality and piety, without which social happiness cannot exist, nor the blessings of a free government be enjoyed. John Adams. Observe good faith and justice towards all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. Religious and morality enjoin this conduct. And can it be that good policy does not equally enjoin it? Can it be that Providence has not connected the permanent felicity of a nation with its virtue? George Washington. Nothing can contribute to true happiness that is inconsistent with duty, nor can a course of action formidable or conformable to it be finally without an ample reward. For God governs and He is good. Benjamin Franklin. Happiness, whether in despotism or democracy, whether in slavery or liberty, can never be found without virtue. John Adams. It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded, but not by religiousness, but by God's children, not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, people of other faiths have been afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here. Patrick Henry. It is the duty of every man to render to the Creator such homage. Before any man can be considered as a member of civil society, he must be considered as a subject of the governor of the universe. James Madison. We have stacked the whole future of America's civilization not upon the power of government, far from it. We have stacked the future of all our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to control ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the 10 Commandments of God. James Madison. Religion, or the duty we owe to our Creator, and manner of discharging it, can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence. James Madison. Let it simply be asked, where is the security of prosperity, for reputation, for life, if the sense of religion, obligation desert the oaths, which are the instruments of investigation in the courts of justice? George Washington. And let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion, whatever may be conceded to the influence and refined education on minds of peculiar structure. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that nationality or national morality can prevail in exclusive of religious principle. George Washington. 'Tis substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. George Washington. Though in reviewing the incidents of my administration, I am unconscious of intentional errors, I am nevertheless too sensible of my defect not to think it probable that I may have committed many errors. Whatever they may be, I fervently beseech the Almighty to avert or mitigate the evils to which they may tend. George Washington. Congress and President George Washington in 1789 passed the United States Annotated Code Article 3, which states, religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. Religion and law and government. In my view, the Christian religion is the most important one of the first things in which all children under free government ought to be instructed. No truth is more evident to my mind than the Christian religion must be the basis of any government intended to secure the rights and privileges of a free people. The father of American scholarship and education, Noah Webster. Yeah, if it's taught the right way. The brief exposition of the Constitution of the United States will unfold to young persons the principles of republican government, and it is the sincere desire of the writer that our citizens should early understand that the genuine source of correct republican principles is the Bible, particularly the New Testament of the Christian religion. Noah Webster. The religion which has introduced civil liberty is the religion of Christ and his apostles, which enjoins humility, piety, and benevolence, which acknowledges in every person a brother or a sister and a citizen with equal rights. This is genuine Christianity. And to this we owe our free constitution of government. Noah Webster. For moral principles and precepts contained in the scriptures ought to form the basis of all civil constitutions and laws. All the miseries and evils which men suffer from vice, crime, ambition, injustice, oppression, slavery, and war proceed from their despising or neglecting to the precepts contained in the Bible. Noah Webster. When you became entitled to exercise the right for voting for public officers, let it be impressed on your mind that the preservation of a republican God commands you to choose for rulers just men who will rule in the fear of God. Government depends on the faithful discharge of his duty. Noah Webster. If the citizens neglect their duty and place unprincipled men in office, the government will soon be corrupted. Laws will be made not for the public good so much as for the selfish or local purposes. Noah Webster. George Mason, father of our Bill of Rights, 1787. Every master of slaves is born a petty tyrant. They bring the judgment of heaven upon a country. As nations cannot be rewarded or punished in the next world, they must be in this, by an inevitable chain of causes and effects. Province punishes national sins by national calamities. Common law is our heritage. Liberty is our inheritance. We, the people, have been lulled asleep. We have been robbed and persuaded to sell our birthrights. James 1:25. Whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. I hope y'all guys getting that. So it's not all of the government's fault. Some of it is our fault too, our ancestors' fault, all type of things. We have to take responsibility and just own up to what we've allowed this far to get away with, and just correct the wrongs. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Proverbs 4:7. We the people, by the mercy of grace of God, ordained with certain unalienable rights, among them the right to form and exercise the 25 people grand jury in the spirit of the Magna Carta and our founding fathers, and in obedience to God for this county on behalf of the people, having recorded our authority with the county clerk and the state supreme court chief clerk, by which we act in order to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity by the securing of natural law, and thereby returning justice, honor, and grace for a perpetual administration of trust on behalf of the people, hereby defined in this handbook, we the people. Only the people can save America. Y'all see that? Not the government, only us. So we gotta do what we gotta do. Will you then register with the National Registry? So I'm going to skip this little paragraph right here talking about the National Registry. And if you join my class, we'll go a little bit over that. But it just says, to become a common law jurist, we are establishing common law grand juries in all 3,141 counties in the United States of America. By doing this, the people will move our courts back to courts of justice and take 100% control of our government. So that's actually something good to know, guys. Watch the video, Power of the Grand Jury. The duty of common law grand jury is to right any wrong. So you guys can look that video up. The power of the grand jury, the duty of common law grand jury. See if you can look that up on YouTube. If anyone's unalienable rights have been violated or removed without a legal sentence or their peers, the grand jury can restore them. In addition, if a dispute shall arise concerning this matter, it shall be settled according to the judgment of the grand jurors, the sureties of the peace. In a U.S. Supreme Court stunning 6-3 decision, Justice Antonin Scalia, writing for the majority, confirmed that the American grand jury is neither part of the judicial, executive, nor legislative branches of government, but instead belongs to the people. It is, in effect, a fourth branch of government, governed and administered directly by and on behalf of the American people, and its authorities emanates from the Bill of Rights, and has the power to enforce law and remove people from public office. Frequently asked questions. Okay, here you go, guys. Once I register, what happens? If you want to be an active full-time or part-time grand jury, notify one of your county coordinators and they will assist you. You can find them listed under county coordinator at www.nationallibertyalliance.org. I don't know if that website is still up. I think I tried to access it. I don't think it's still up. Otherwise, your name will go into the jury pool. You will receive a phone call occasionally to participate as a trial or grand jurist. Question: do I have to serve when I get the call? No. If you cannot participate at the time, we will recycle your name. No questions asked. When I am called, how long will I be needed for? Usually 1 to 3 days. You will be given the information and the dates in order to decide if you can participate. What do I do now? Go to www.nationalliberty.alliance.org to register. After you register, you will be taken to the orientation page and you will be instructed further. Please read carefully that page. The first American Revolution. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to take a quick water break. And we're going to get into the rest of this. Okay. The first American Revolution did not start with the shot heard round the world. On the morning of April 19, 1775, when British regulars fired upon a small group of hastily assembled patriots on the Lexington Green, they were attempting to regain control of a colony they had already lost. The real revolution, the transfer of political authority to the American patriots, occurred the previous summer when thousands upon thousands of farmers and artisans seized power from every crown appointed official in Massachusetts outside of Boston. Starting in August 1774, each time a court was slated to meet under British authority in some Massachusetts town, great numbers of angry citizens made sure that it did not. At Great Barrington, 1,500 patriots filled the courthouse to prevent the judge from entering. At Worcester, judges were made to read their recantations 30 times over, hats in hand, as they passed through 22 militiamen lined up on along Main Street. Militiamen lined up along the Main Street. So too at Springfield, where in a sandy, sultry place exposed to sun, once important officials sweated under the burden of their heavy black suits. The functionaries of British rule cowered and collapsed. No match for the collective force of patriotic farmers. According to an eyewitness, the people of each town, being drawn into separate companies, marched with staves and music. The trumpet sounding, drums beating, fifes playing, and colors flying, struck the passion of the soul into a proper tone, and inspired martial courage into each. The governor's counselors, once elected but now appointed directly by the crown, were also forced to resign. Thomas Oliver, lieutenant governor of Massachusetts, and the counselor as well ceded to a crowd of 4,000 assembled around his home in Cambridge. Timothy Paine of Worcester was visited by 2,000 men who demanded his resignation. He told a committee he would comply, but his word would not suffice. The people wanted it in writing. Even that was not enough. The crowd demanded that he come out of his house while a representative read his resignation aloud. Again, Paine complied, and again the people wanted more. He would have to read his resignation himself, with his hat off, several times as he passed through the ranks. Nothing else would do. Through it all, the revolutionaries engaged in a participatory democracy, which far outreached the intentions of the so-called founding fathers. They gathered under no special leaders. Their ad hoc representatives, such as the 5 men elected to talk with Timothy Payne operated according to the instructions approved by the assembled crowd and reported back immediately to the body as whole. Even the nighttime mobs, and there were many, maintained a democratic aspect. In Braintree, 200 men gathered on a Sunday at around 8 p.m. to remove some gunpowder from the powder house and to make the local sheriff burn 2 warrants he was attempting to deliver. Successful in their missions, they wanted to celebrate with a loud huzzah, but should they disturb the Sabbath, they called a vote, wrote Abigail Adams, who observed the affair, and it being Sunday evening, it passed in the negative. By early October 1774, more than 6 months before the Red Dawn of Lexington, all Crown appointed officials had been forced to disavow British authority or flee to Boston, which was still under military protection. The flames of sedition, wrote Governor Thomas Gage, had spread universally throughout the country beyond conception. The British had lost all control of the Massachusetts countryside, and they would never get it back. Scholars differ widely on how to define revolution, but a good starting point, firmly rooted in common usage, can be found in the Random House Webster College Dictionary, 1997. A complete and forcible overthrow and replacement of an established government or political system by the people governed. So in the late summer and every fall of 17 I'm sorry, in the late summer and early fall of 1774, the people of rural Massachusetts completely and forcibly overthrew the established government and began to set up their own. This was the first American Revolution. While a group of renowned lawyers, merchants, and slaves owning planters were meeting as a Continental Congress in Philadelphia to consider whether or not they should challenge British rule, the plain farmers and artisans of Massachusetts, guarding their liberties, jealousy, and voting at every turn, wrestled control from the most powerful empire on earth. Constitution of a Common Law Grand Jury. Lex Naturalis de Gratia. We, the people of the United States of America, do pledge to the Governor of the universe in our capacity as jurists, both grand and trial, to uphold the U.S. Constitution, to carry out the principles of natural law in all of our governments, in order to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity by deliberating under natural law, principled under justice, honor, and mercy for a perpetual administration of trust on behalf of the people, acknowledging the foundation upon which all law weighs, charity inasmuch as for the sake of God, for the bettering of our sovereignty, if any of our civil servants shall have transgressed against any of the people in any respect, and they shall ask us to cause that error to be amended without delay, or shall have broken some one of the articles of peace and security, and their transgressions shall have been shown to 4 jurors of the aforesaid 25, and if those 4 jurors are unable to settle the transgression, they shall come to the 25, showing to the grand jury the error which shall be enforced by the law of the land. It is the duty of grand jury, if anyone's unalienable rights have been violated or removed without a legal sentence of their peers from their lands, home, liberty, or lawful right, we the 25 shall straightway restore them. And if a dispute shall arise concerning this matter, It shall be settled according to the judgment of the 25 grand jurors, the securities of the peace. A legal maxim: every right when withheld must have a remedy, and every jury its proper redress. William Blackstone. There is common law principle which states that there is to be a crime, therefore must first be a victim. Which states that for there to be a crime, there must first be a victim. Corpus delicti. In the absence of a victim, there can be no crime. The state cannot be the victim. Statutes are not law. Servant legislators cannot write statutes to control the behavior of their masters. Footnotes. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to read all these footnotes, you guys. Let's go over the United States exists in two forms. The United States exists in two forms. The organized United States, which controlled the federal government until 1860, and the federal United States, which is incorporated in 1871. The government of the original United States of America was usurped by the government of the federal United States, which only controls the District of Columbia and its territories, Washington, D.C., as a for-profit corporation that acts as our natural government. The corporate United States operates under public commercial law rather than private common law. The original Constitution and the Declaration of Independence refer to these United States. As you can see, it's united is in lowercase. The word united is an adjective describing the noun states. So basically, the word united is just describes the word states. Therefore, the lowercase united. When the federal United States was formed in 1871, the adjective united was changed to the noun united, which became an uppercase U. Because the federal United States is a corporation, which word is not an adjective but a noun. The Constitution of the original United States of America, which never removed, it has lain dormant since 1871 and is still intact to this day. This point was made clear by Supreme Court Justice Marshall Harlan in Downs versus Bidwell, 182 U.S. 244, 1901, by the following dissenting opinion. Two national governments exist, one to be maintained under the Constitution with all its restrictions, the other to be maintained by Congress outside and independently of that instrument. The written 1871 Constitution of the United States overrides the original Constitution for the United States of America, which explains why our congressmen and senators don't abide by it, and the president, CEO of the corporate United States can write executive orders to do whatever he wants to do. He is following corporate laws that completely strip sovereigns of their God-given unalienable rights. Corporate, public, commercial law is not sovereign, private, for it is a public agreement between two or more parties under public contract. Common law, under which sovereign operates, is not commercial law. Common law is personal and private. Source: Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, with pronunciations. Government de facto. A government of fact exercising power and control in the place of true and lawful government. A government not established according to the Constitution of the nation, not lawfully entitled to recognition or supremacy, but which has nevertheless supplanted or displaced the government de jure. A government deemed unlawful or wrongful and unjust, which nevertheless receives habitual obedience from the bulk of commune or community. There are several degrees of what is called de facto government. Such a government is, in its highest degrees, assumes a character closely resembling that of a lawful government. This is when the usurping government expels the regular authorities from the customary seats and functions and establishes itself in their place and becomes the actual government of a country. The distinguishing characteristic of such a government is that it adherents who and warring against the government de jure do not incur the penalties of treason, and under certain limitations, the obligations assumed by them in behalf of the country or otherwise will generally be respected by the de jure government when restored. Such a government might more aptly be denominated a government of paramount force, maintained by military power against the rightful authority of an established and lawful government, and obeyed in civil matters by private citizens. They are usually administered by military authority, but they may also be administered by civil authority, supported more or less by military force. Source: Thorington versus Smith, 75 U.S. De facto government, a government that maintains itself by a display of force against the will of the legal government, and is successful at least temporarily in overturning the institutions of the rightful government by setting up its own government in lieu thereof. Wortham versus Walker, 133 Texas, 255, 128. Government de jure. A government of right, a true and lawful government, a government established according to the constitution of the nation or state and lawfully entitled to the recognition in it and the administration of the nation, although actually cut off from power and or control. A government deemed lawful, rightful, and just, which has been nevertheless supplanted and displaced, which receives not habitual obedience from the bulk of the community. De jure, a condition in which there has been total compliance with all requirements of law, of right, legitimate, lawful, by right and just title. In these sense, it is the contrary of de facto. It may also be contrast with de gratia, it in which case means as a matter of fact, as de gratia means by grace or favor. Again, it may be contrast with deadequate, here meaning by law, as the latter means by equity. Source: Ibid, Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. How the Constitution was usurped by the corporation. The corporate United States is not obligated nor accountable to the people except to make a profit for its stockholders as a corporation. The corporate interest does not benefit the people but uses the people and their labor to make a profit for the corporation. This corporation works in concert with the corporate courts and banks to usurp the people's wealth. The transfer of the constitutional authority of the money over to a private foreign bank, the non-federal Federal Reserve, has devastated our lives. This crime of taking the money authority away from the people must be corrected and authority restored to a constitutional form of government so our country can become prosperous again. From a speech in Congress and Congressional Research of March 17, 1933, Volume 33, page 1303 regarding the bankruptcy of the United States by Speaker Representative James Traficant, Jr., Ohio, addressing the House. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9, 1933, 48, Statute 1, Public Law 89, 719, declared by President Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent. H.J.R. 192, 73rd Congress, in session June 5, 1933, joint resolution to suspend the gold and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all states' governmental officers, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. The receivers of the United States bankruptcy are the international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the IMF, or International Monetary Fund. All United States offices, officials, and departments are now operating within a de facto status in name only under emergency war powers, with constitutional Republican form of government now dissolved. The receivers of the bankruptcy have adopted a new form of government for the United States. This new form of government is known as a democracy, being an established socialist communist order under a new governor for America. This act was instituted and established by transferring and or placing the office of the Secretary of the Treasury to that of the Governor of the International Monetary Fund. Public Law 94 through -564, page 8, Section HR 13955 reads in parts: the U.S. Secretary of Treasury receives no compensation for representing the United States. Prior to 1913, most Americans owned clear allodial title to property, free and clear of any lien of mortgages until the Federal Reserve Act 1913 hypothecated all property within the federal United States to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserves, in which the trustees or stockholders held legal title. The U.S. citizen or tenant or franchisee was registered as a beneficiary of the trust via his or her birth certificate. In 1933, the federal United States hypothecated all of the present and future properties, assets, and labor of their subjects. The 14th Amendment U.S. citizen to the Federal Reserve System. In return, the Federal Reserve System agreed to extend the Federal United States Corporation they agreed to extend the Federal United States Corporation all of the credit or money substitute it needed. Like any debtor, the federal United States government had to assign collateral and security to their creditors as a condition of a loan. Since the federal United States didn't have any assets, they assigned the private property of their economic slaves, the U.S. citizens, as collateral against the federal debt. They also pledged the unincorporated federal territories, national parks, forests, birth certificates, and nonprofit organizations as collateral against their federal debt. All has already been transferred as payment to the international bankers. Unwittingly, America has returned to its pre-American Revolution feudal roots, whereby all land is held by a sovereign and common people have no rights to hold allodial title to property. Once again, we the people are tenants and sharecroppers, renting our own property from a sovereign in the guise of the Federal Reserve Bank. We the people have exchanged one master for another. How can we repair our country right now? As the Republic for the United States works to reinstall its government, the knowledge and truth about what has happened needs to be told. All Americans need to know this history of this tragedy, but with the good news about it, but with the good news about how it all can be brought back. Much help is needed to correct all of the unconstitutional laws, codes, and programs that plague our country today. The Republic for the United States of America is not a movement. It is the lawful government of the United States. Become part of the reestablishment process. Get involved with the common law grand jury and help to restore the Republic for the United States of America. Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments to the Constitution as ratified by the states. Note, the following text is a transcription of the first 10 amendments of the Constitution in their original form. These amendments were ratified December 15, 1791, and form what is commonly known as the Bill of Rights. The preamble to the Bill of Rights. Congress of the United States begun and held at the city of New York on Wednesday the 4th of March on 1791 or 81, The convention of a number of the states having at the time of their adopting of the Constitution expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction of abuse of its powers that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its institution. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America, in Congress assembled, 2/3 of both houses concurring, that the following articles be proposed to the legislators of the several states as amendments to the Constitution of the United States, all or any of which articles, when ratified by 3/4 of the said legislators, to be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the said Constitution. Articles in addition to an amendment of the Constitution for the United States of America proposed by Congress and ratified by the legislators of several states pursuant to the 5th article of the original Constitution. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance. Number 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Number 3, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Number 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated with no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Okay. Number 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. They gotta pay you. In all criminal prosecution, the accused shall enjoy the right to speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Number 7. In suits at common law, where the value and controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Number 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel or unusual punishment inflicted. Number 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Number 10. The powers not delegated to the United States of the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectfully or to the people. So we have the right to reserve all our rights. So, chain of authority, you all. This is the chain of authority. It is God, which is natural law. Then it is we the people. Then you have the Magna Carta Declaration or the Constitution, or them all together. Then you have the 3 forms of government. So even those are under all of these. You have legislature, judicial, administration. Then you have a United States citizen. Okay? Declaration of Independence in Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13th United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the power of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, with will dictate the government's long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than the right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security, such as been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having a direct object, the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to the candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of the large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the rights of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distinct from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without the convulsion within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount of payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat at their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He has affected to render the military independent of the superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledgeable by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us, in many cases, of the benefit of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond sea to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English law in the neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of governments, for suspending our own legislators and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our sea, ravished our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at the time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civil nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is this marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislators to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondences. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and the consanguinity. We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, and peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress and Congress assembled, appealing to the supreme judges of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies and of right ought to be free and independent states, and that they are absolved from all allegiances to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract allegiances, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives for fortunes and sacred honor. All right, guys. So that basically concludes this book. 56 signatures on the declaration appear in positions indicated. So these are some signatures, 56 of them. Common law grand jury. Okay. I'll read these last few pages up. Just let me grab something to drink very quickly. How y'all doing? I know I can't see the chat. It irritates my soul that I can't see y'all and what y'all saying. So hopefully I'll be able to see it later. All right, I'm gonna finish this up. Common law grand jury, groundswell. Have you ever heard of a common law grand jury? The common law grand jury is alive and well in over 26 states. There are over 3,141 counties in the United States of America, and our goal is to get at least 6 people in each county in order to organize and election in your county to reinstate and initiate the common law grand jury nationwide. When we reinstate the common law grand jury in all the counties of the state, then we the people will have 100% control of their state government. When 26 states achieve this goal, we the people will have 100% control of Washington, D.C. Duty of the common law grand jury. If anyone's unalienable rights have been violated or removed without a legal sentence, or of their peers from their lands, home, liberties, or lawful right, we, the 25, shall straightway restore them. And if a dispute shall arise concerning this matter, it shall be settled according to the judgment of the 25 grand jurors. The sureties of the peace, Magna Carta, June 15, 1215. It is the duty or the people to govern themselves and to secure their government by participating as a jurist. So we got to come together, y'all. We got to unite. Think about this. If we the people can reinstate justice and demand that elected officials and bureaucrats obey the law or be indicted, we would have then succeeded in reinstating the Constitution. Only the people can stand up and defend the Constitution, because the Constitution cannot defend itself, and bureaucrats will never do it. In a stunning 6-3 decision, Justice Antonin Scalia, writing for the majority of Supreme Court justices, confirmed that the American grand jury is neither part of the judicial, executive, nor legislative branches of government, but instead belongs to the people. It is, in effect, a fourth branch of government, governed and administered to directly by and on behalf of American people, and its authority emanates Bill emanates from the Bill of Rights, see United States versus Williams. Hold on to the Constitution and the Republic for which it stands. Miracles do not cluster, and what has happened once in 6,000 years may not happen again. Hold on to the Constitution, for if the American Constitution should fail, there will be anarchy throughout the world. Daniel Webster. Necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves. William Pitt, November 18, 1783. I would rather be exposed to the inconvenience attending too much liberty than those attending too small degree of it. William Jefferson. Our mission is to restore the people to sovereignty through knowledge, and only then will they be armed with the virtue to take political and judicial power. The people have it in their power to disarm and defeat the enemy of the liberty, both foreign and domestic, if they only understand the principle of freedom and stand upon them. To take political power, it is to control our elected representatives by bringing them into obedience through fear of the people. This is accomplished by understanding the office of and becoming an elected committeeman, and then executing the powers. It's that simple. To take judicial power is to control our courts by understanding jurisdiction and bringing into subjection all government officers and officials, using common law courts by opening courts of record and executing people authority into. It's that simple. But to successfully apply political and judicial power, you must have a sense of justice and mercy, which is synonymous with virtue. To get virtue, you need to have relationship with Creator. If everyone exercised these principles, America should shake off the chains of tyranny, reinstate our republic, and bring down the NWO literally overnight. This is the only way to save the nation. Without power, you are powerless. Join our endeavors and save our republic, one people at a time. We are nonpartisan. A partisan people is one who is blindly or unreasonably devoted to party positions. Therefore, a partisan cannot possibly serve the Constitution. George Washington warned us against political parties. He said they only succeed in pitting one group against another. The cause of this grassroots movement is the awakening to our constitutional crisis, for grassroots engaged in partisan politics further serves the demise of our constitutional republic. The evil genius of the progressive movement is their exploitation of partisan politics, which they created to subvert our Constitution. Grassroots groups are natural and spontaneous, whose primary objection is to reinstate the Constitution. To be partisan would be counterproductive. The traditional power structures are orchestrated and designed to harness grassroots movements. They must always be suspect and will be proven corrupt if they are partisan, divisive, and take control of choosing candidates. Grassroots are founded locally. Control is local, and most events are local. To collaborate with distant groups is necessary for unity, but if events become dictated by them, you are not longer grassroots. All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. Edmund Burke. The question before the people is one of an awful moment to the country. For my own part, I consider it as nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time through fear. It is natural to man to indulge in the illusion of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of the siren till these transform us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great arduous struggle for liberty? I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know no way of judging. I know no way of judging of the future, but by the past. They are sent over to bind and rivet upon us those chains which the ministry have been so long forging. And what have we to oppose to them? Shall we try argument? Sir, we have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new to offer upon the subject? Nothing. Sir, we have done everything that could be done to avert the storm which is now coming on. We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated ourselves, and have employed its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry. Our petitions have been slighted, our remonstrances have produced additional violences and insult. Our supplications have been disregarded, and we have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. In vain, after these things, may we indulge the fond hope of peace and reconciliation. There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve privileges, if we mean not to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. I repeat, sir, we must fight and appeal to arms and to do the God of hosts is all that is left us. They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be the next week or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and when a guard shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound and hand and foot? Sir, we are not weak. If we make a proper use of those means which the God of nature hath placed in our powers, 300 millions of people armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess, are invincible by any force which our enemy can send against us. Besides, sir, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is a just God who presides over the destinies of nations, and who will raise up friends to fight our battles for us. It is not too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. Their clanting may be heard. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat it, sir. Let it come. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war has actually begun. The next fate that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it that gentlemen wish? What should they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains of slavery? forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty and give me death. Patrick Henry. See the webpage, nationallibertyalliance.org. If you have any questions, blah, 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 blah. So that was a great book, you guys. I hope you all enjoyed. We will be back next week. Sometime I will be back next week. I can't tell you guys when just yet. But what I can tell you is that you definitely want to get into the Signal group. I will be doing classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 noon. We're going to go on those days from about 12 noon to maybe 1:30. So you want to get to the classes. I have a lot to teach you all. We're going to start at the very basics and we're going to move from there. I have a lot to share with you all. You guys need to learn how to write your names. You need to know how to mail out. You need to know how to write up your letters, how to sign your letters. We've just been taught everything totally wrong. So it's like going back to kindergarten almost and learning all over again, you guys. So I'm going to be patient with you all as you be patient with me. I'll do my best to teach you all everything that I know so far and help you all get the ball rolling with a lot of different things. You definitely want to look into status correcting your status. Get with me. I can help you with that. Also, if you want a consultation, you can email me or message me privately on the Signal group. On Signal, not in the group, but in Signal. But you just have to join the Signal group first in order to get access to the group, and then you should be able to contact me through there. I'm challenging y'all. I'm giving y'all homework to do. This is easy stuff to just join a group. I have things in there that are available for you all to start reading. There's a lot of literature in there for you to start looking at that will help you to start getting more knowledgeable about these things, more knowledgeable about the straw man, more knowledgeable about common law, trust law, and learning what it is that you will have to do in order to correct yourself in the system. Like I said, I'm going to be guiding you all step by step, but I got to take it to the very basics and teach y'all like your ABCs all over again, your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. I hate to say it like that and treat you like children, but I had to learn that way too. So it just is what it is. But like I said, I'll be patient with you all. And if you all would like to donate for the cause for this time of research and development, just go ahead and check the description area. I have a way for you to donate there. So you can check the description area. I sure hate that I can't see it's definitely a bummer. I can't see the messages. But nonetheless, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it for today. I have another appointment at 5. So I thank you all for watching. Like I said, if you need to contact me, email me, or join the group on the Signal app. Download it. It's a more secure app. It said that that's the app that Trump is going to be using so that we can have our freedom of speech and our security and privacy, you guys, because a lot of these platforms are selling us out, okay, and invading our rights, so violating our rights. So with that being said, I'm going to take a break and get ready for my next meeting, and I will see you all next week, whether it's on my next reading or whether you join the class. It is your girl, Empress Shay Marie. I love you all. Islam, peace and love. Have a great weekend.